this is a reflection on lesson 265 in A Course in Miracles, and it says, creation's gentleness is all I see. Creation's gentleness is all I see. And it's like 7 a.m. I felt like I had a lot of thoughts on this one, given what I've been going through, what my family's been going through, what the world's going through, and how, in a nutshell, whatever way we think about something or feel about something, if it all exists in our own minds, we take responsibility for our own feelings and our own thoughts. And when we don't, that causes suffering, right? When we look outside of ourselves and say, that's the problem, that's the problem. And this lesson is about looking out there and saying, the gentleness that comes from love and that creation energy is all I see. That's all I choose to see. It is a choice. If we can pause or create some space and distance from identifying with the noise or taking sides. So anyway, that's in a nutshell, so I don't forget what to come back to, which I still may forget. But my phone is telling me I'm almost out of space, so this reflection can take no longer than 21 minutes and 43 seconds. My phone will, like, it couldn't even do an update this morning because there's not enough space. I gotta move stuff off. So there's a time limit, and I'm on my way to my mom's. I took a couple days off work because my stepdad yesterday he had a kidney removed because it's they're like 80% sure it's cancer, and the other one is suspect, but they left it in. So, and my mom is not well, and so there's all this worry right now. It's like when the child becomes the parent. That's the phase of life I'm in, and it's hard when your parents don't want help, when they are fiercely independent and stubborn. They self-admit how stubborn they are. And so it's funny, but it's not funny, because there's no breaking through a brick wall it's like, what do they say in physics? I never took physics, but I love it. I need to take a physics class. I just like to pretend I know about it. And it's like something, I always think about applying. You can't effect change with the same energy, the same force, is it just pushes something further in that direction, right? So I think about their stubbornness. You can't fight stubborn with stubborn. They know how stubborn works, right? People who are stubborn or like dug their heels in, not changing, immovable. You can't create motion with more lack of motion, right? So I think about applying opposite forces, and I do that in my work too, actually. I'm like, okay, when somebody's in freeze, what does freeze needs? It needs movement, right? What does when you're completing these certain like nervous system responses, you can't just apply the same energy of what that person's still kind of stuck in. So I think about that with stubbornness, and like, okay, well, what do they need here? They need, like, there's so much walls built up, and this relates to the lesson, at least for me, because like, you can't look at them in the eye of stubbornness. Like, it just needs, like, creation's gentleness. It needs a softening. And that's what I think of the word gentle. I think I'm speeding right now. I get distracted. Shouldn't be doing this on the road. But I won't have time today. Today's going to be another full day in the hospital, and we don't know what's going to happen, whether he'll get to come home or stay. And that's all tied up in this lesson too, of like all the worry, and like they can't take care of themselves and they can't get around anymore, and you know, do I need to quit my job and just be with them full time? And that's definitely been a thought. And So there's a lot going on, but and it still brings me back to that softening, because I'm too close to the situation. Do you feel that with your parents or your children? Like, when you're too close to the situation to see clearly, and all I desperately want right now is to see clearly, like even down to my mom is getting to the point, I think it's early onset. It's not even early anymore. I think it's just dementia. And that's hard to really grapple with, right? With when your parents are not who they are. And it's in the phase where you're like, can I trust their judgment? I don't think I can, but we're at that stage of like, if I make it clear to them that I can't trust their judgment, whoa, a stubbornness and a defiance and an independence surges up, and I'm like, ooh, okay, you know. So how forceful can I be with like, this is what you're doing right now, like treating the parent as the child, and I have to be the parent. So that's what's all swirling, like I'm in the thick of something that I haven't even had a chance to reflect on yet. And that's isn't that a weird place to be when you're so close to a situation and you're in the midst of it? How do you see clearly? Because seeing clearly usually comes with time and distance from the thing, where you're like, oh yeah, that's what that was. Okay, this is how I would have done it differently, you know? So here I am in the midst of it. Like, how can I, and the only way to prevent that, how would I have done something differently, is to become so present, so open and soft, so that everything hits me full on without layers of prediction and judgment and second guessing and all those things our human brains do. So how do I become so present? And I think that's just like, how do I create myself as a blank slate when I'm so close to a situation? And it really, when I ask myself that, I'm like, oh, gentleness. That's the lesson. That's all I see right now is gentleness. And I even thought about it this morning, like, instead of like, what would Jesus do? It'd be like, what would love do here? And I've been asking myself that a lot lately. I want to create like a little WWLD. Oh, that's a beautiful sunrise. Ooh, it's so beautiful. I want to look at it. So good. And the cornfields, which they're half are harvested, half are still up. We're in the phase of the year. It's just beautiful. Summer solstice the equinox? I don't know. The autumn equinox just came and went. So we're like halfway down to like the winter solstice, having a hot flash. That's why I bring my beanie, even though it's like barely autumn. It's like hospital layers or no joke. It's so cold in the hospital. So anyway, a lot of random thoughts there. So that's what this lesson made me think of, because I'm in the midst of all this that's going on right now. And how can I be there for my dearest loved ones when they say they don't want anyone there for them? They won't even accept home health care. They won't even toy with the idea of anyone helping at all. They don't want any, literally, my stepbrother and I have attacked it. We're like the closest to them. So like my stepdad's son and me were pretty close in age. And so when out of earshot, here we are, like, I almost wanted to say conspiring, but when you're dealing with something like a brick wall, it feels like you're on the outside making decisions, not with, but for. And how do we break down the brick wall? Well, you can't fight bricks with bricks. I don't know if that's a good analogy. But like, how I think it takes love and gentleness, and maybe my mom's severe woundedness. I was telling my husband this morning, there's no changing her. There's no fixing her at this point in life. There's just more love, more love, more love, until like you can't fight love, right? Like, I think she expects, because of her woundedness in life, I'm just projecting here, I don't know, like, she she only knows how to feel unloved, no matter how much we show her. She is so wounded from such an early age. She only knows how to feel unloved, and so what she says and thinks and the way she acts is to perpetuate this unworthiness of love. And so how other than just love at all costs, just like more. And so that's the gentleness. Like, there's no other option. And I feel like this relates back to what I was thinking about before I started the video, is like how yesterday, oh my God, I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. I've been on that journey my whole adult life, being so tuned in. I've been on every part of the spectrum of engagement with culture, politics, news, activism, like my whole adult life, to the point where I'm like, what did it do in the world? What did it do for me? What did it do for my loved ones? All it did was rile this mechanism up and oftentimes fuel division, us versus them, right? And then I was reflecting on, well, that's exactly why the news exists, or, political commentary especially, is to fuel an us versus them, taking sides. And then, I forget who said it was somebody really famous in history, says what political leaders, what world leaders really fear is the silent majority. And I'm like, well, yeah, because all the other the noisemakers, the social media activists, are the ones declaring what side they're on. They're picking a side, and they're very vocal about it. And so when these political leaders go to their primaries, they're in the election mode, they know exactly what to say to fuel up their base. We know that. That's just like, we just know that. What they can't do is access the silent majority. They don't know what works for them. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to market. They don't know what political shows to be on. They just don't know how to access us. And then we go to the polls and vote the way we vote. Or we put our time and energy into things that fuel what we believe in. And they just don't know what to do with that. So picking a side, you think it works? What's it done for you? That's what I would ask people. Like the people who are really, and it's like, I have bowed out of so many groups, so many whatevers, because when you look at things objectively, if you can, it's hard, it's the same amount of hate. It just takes on different language, right? Just a different flavor of hate. But it's all hate. It's all fear. And that's really what's underneath hate. So I'm like, I don't want to participate in fear. I don't want to participate in hate. So I was sitting, that's just my history. That's where I am now until it changes. So, and honestly, I am so much more at peace than I was my whole adult life, that I was deeply engaged in perpetuating that division. Everything that come out of my mouth, I was picking a side. I was fueling division. Now I just want to fuel oneness. That's all I want. Because all that other stuff, politics happens, countries rise and fall over any scale of time, long enough. What does my little blurb? Oh, more division. Okay, well, I added some more fear and hate to the world. That's not what I want for my legacy. So anyway, I'm sitting in the hospital yesterday, and you're just trapped, right? Your loved one's in surgery. You're trying to be there for your other loved ones, to make to be a positive whatever, because like my mom's like running through like, oh my God, this surgery's taking longer than expected. something's got to be wrong. Something's got to be wrong. I'm like, no, this is the time frame. It's just, and they kept us updated. They called every hour on the hour to say, here's where we are. Everything's fine. It's just taking longer than expected. I'm like, well, it's okay. Trust them, and we'll know what we know when we know it, right? And so you're just trying to be the calm center of a storm of wow. Because if it was my husband in surgery, I'd be right there with her, right? I mean, it's my stepdad. I love him dearly, but there's a responsibility that we take on. Like, what role am I playing today? I ask myself that. What's my role right now? Yes, I'm the loving daughter, but I have to be a solid rock for this woman who's like, so there's all of that going on. And then there's the TV that's on. There's the Today Show. There's the blah, blah, blah show, like show after show, and then news. And we were there for 7 or 8 hours, locked, like held captive by this TV. And I was like, I gotta take a walk. I gotta get some air. I gotta like I follow my mom around because she can't walk very well. So I was like with her, so I couldn't leave a lot. And I was just stuck there listening to, and I was like, oh my God, that's right. I used to be one of these people who would just be like, yeah, that's so wrong. These little news snippets or these like political shows where you hear all sides, right? And then it's like, and it just riles people up, and you see the mechanism once you get removed from it. Like, you see how they're doing it, why they're doing it. And then I listen to other podcasts, so it's like these, like, for example, one podcast I watched recently were like by these ex-CIA operatives who have now an independent organization. They've gotten out of the CIA, and they can start to share some things that aren't classified. And one of the things they were talking about is like, oh my God, people, if you knew what these political commentary people, these pundits, and all the lobbyists, all these people in DC, basically, they sit like on a TV show, against each other for hours. And then afterwards, they're like, high five, let's go grab a beer, And he's like, that's no joke. That's exactly what happens. And so it's all a show. It's just entertainment for a purpose, to get you to feel a certain way and to vote a certain way, to act a certain way. And it keeps us locked in, from feeling like love and gentleness. It's anything but gentle, right? Have you ever felt more gentleness watching to a political show? No, probably not. So anyway, that's all coming at us all day long. And I was talking to my husband about this. He's like, oh, were you just like whenever Trump would come on? And I'm like, actually, no, I was very surprised when after a while, I was like, I don't feel drawn in. I felt like a sensory overload. Like it was more raw, more visceral, like more, not visceral in the sense of like, oh, I'm so mad. It was more like full on, raw, reflexive, sensory, like pounding on my sense receptors. I didn't feel an emotion tied to it other than ouch, 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 ouch. It was so weird to me in hindsight when I was like, what is this feeling? It just hurts. Like, I don't feel emotions like, oh, I'm so mad that he's saying these things. In fact, one time I didn't realize it, but I bust out laughing at something he said, and I didn't realize it wasn't the fact that he said it, our president, it was that anybody would say it. That's what I reflected on. I was like, he actually said, I hate my opponents. And I'm like, oh my God, a world leader who's supposed to be like an example to the world, is using the word hate and saying he hates anybody against him. Hate, the word hate. And I was like, I guffawed. And I was like, oh. And it wasn't about that he said it. It would have been if Obama said, if anybody said it, I would have been like, oh my God, that just got said. to the world, to our young people, I'm like, how sad. And I'm gonna cry about all the things I could be crying about. That's what, gut punch. That's the only thing. Like, I laughed, like, as a reflex. And then now in hindsight, I'm like, oh man, that is sad. So now that I've disconnected from the news, I don't feel that emotion. It doesn't have me in its grips. I can finally say, like, you don't own me. You don't own this. And then, but what it did do was make me very aware of, like, how that sensory input, that sensory overload. And then we start talking about ADHD and autism and all of that. And it's like, oh man, it gave me so much, like, compassion for that. Just like these days, like, everything is so just, you can't escape when you're held captive by that, or you let yourself be held captive. Like, turn off the news if you can, turn it off, disconnect, go in nature. And everything in our society says, no, don't do that. That means you're checking out. You should be ashamed. You need to be engaged. You need to care about this. But why are they saying that? Ask ourselves why. Why? Oh, because you gotta affect change. Okay, tell me how. Tell me how really to affect the change I want to see in the world. Well, what is the change I want to see? The change. Hi, good morning. So that's funny. So my phone turned off right at 21:43. So it wasn't lying to me. That's all the space I had left. So here we are the next morning. It was quite a long day in the hospital. And I just now had a chance to delete some files and finish the thought. So I'm going to finish that thought before I forget, which was, what is the change I want to see in the world? And I'd started to say, well, it certainly isn't adding more division, adding more fear, like I had said earlier in the video. Sorry for the long video. I was on a drive, so what are you going to do? But the change I want to see in the world is more love, more gentleness, like the lesson. So, and how do I do that? Well, without two things, I guess, without checking out of the cultural discussion, but also without feeling shamed, self-shamed and outwardly shamed for, or judged, or feeling judged, and that's a whole spiral, for not wanting to engage in the discussion. Because the discussion that people usually refer to when they say that is the discussion of what the political pundits are saying is the discussion. I can't go on Facebook anymore. And so I realized that when you're in one space and can't move, so another, like, basically 11 hours in the hospital yesterday, 10, 11 hours. And there's not much to do but just sit with, and you're so close to your family, you don't feel the need to make small talk. Thankfully, because I'm not good at meaningless conversation. It's hard. I mean, I'll do it, but it's hard. So luckily there was silence, but also sometimes I needed a distraction. I felt myself wanting to be distracted. Like, oh, let's entertain my brain. Let's entertain, So I found myself, like, sometimes wanting to reach for my social media buttons on my phone. And every time I'd go to Facebook, I was like, ugh, I felt, because I had the time and space to, like, tap into how I was feeling, every time I'd go to press Facebook icon, I was like, ooh, gross. I didn't feel good. So I didn't touch it. And then sometimes I did touch it, And I'd open it, and the very first things I'd see made me feel gross. I was like, shut it down. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm checking out of Facebook. The only reason I have it right now is because I still get people sharing that for my business. So, whatever. I might find that that's not important either and just shut it all the way down. This isn't about Facebook. So, what change do I want to see in the world? I just want to be part of the More Love movement. And some people might say, well, you still have to pick a side in terms of politics. And I'm like, but neither side is perpetuating love from my limited perspective. Show me where it is, and I might rally behind that. So, but how do I share more love? I don't know, I'm still figuring that out. I do it person by person, grassroots. I know for sure I do that because honestly, when I reflect on every interaction I have, I try to bring that gentleness. I don't have an agenda with people. I know that for sure, one-on-one. I'm not trying to sway them in any direction. I feel like in every interaction, I try to connect empathetically. Like, I do this in my work track too, like the whole meet people where they are. That feels true still. And then add compassion. So meet people where they are and then add a dose of empathy, add a dose of compassion. That feels like adding to what I want to see in the world, which is more love. So yeah, reflecting on it in the moment here, real time, I feel like I am doing that in a grassroots way. That feels more true to me than standing on social media and saying, this is what I believe. This is what you should believe too. And if you don't, get out of my life. That's not love, is it? No. But I understand how people get to that place where they feel so unheard, unseen, lost by the larger system that they project that onto the grassroots level. And that's just not how it is at grassroots, is it? Oh, laundry time. So, and I think that's going back to that silent majority. I think that's what it primarily is grassroots, and that's what the political leaders fear is the grassroots. They always have. They always have. So, grassroots love, I think that's, for me, what it comes down to in my older age. In my younger years, I was the pick a side. It matters. More hate. Even though I didn't think of it as hate, I thought of it as my values are the right values. How egotistical is that? No matter what side we're on. Oh my God. I think back. Oh man. That's wild. And now I'm like, when you, like I was saying before, where you get enough distance for something to see clearly. I see that clearly now, 25 years later. I don't know how I'll reflect on this moment and be like, no, there was still division in what you were saying. There was still fear. Maybe. I just feel like there's less of it now. I still feel a twinge of like projecting wrongness onto people who pick a side. And I know that that feels wrong to me. Is that funny? Like, I want to check out of side picking. I want to check so far out of picking a side. And even now, though, it feels like, no, I don't blame people for picking sides. It feels like a natural, it's just what we're taught to do until you get enough distance from something and realize that's not for me anymore. it doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do my loved one. It makes me actually not connect with loved ones as much. And oh yeah, there was something I was thinking about. Like, we have this false, I call it false, you might not, this false sense of connection in side picking. It's like, oh, you believe that too? Yes, let's get together on this side. Yay, we connected. It's like, I see it still in my small town when people get together and they say something really racist or really bigoted. And then the other person's like, yeah, I know, right? You know, like, yeah, oh, I hate that too. And it's the same energy. It's the same energy connecting of like, no matter what it is, we're connecting over shared values. Isn't that weird that we do that? We could do it about anything without judgment. So you could do it about, oh man, I don't like to see people suffering. Yeah, me neither. Oh, yeah, it really is awful. So there's no judgment there. It's just like, we do that. So I see how people pick sides. There's a connection in it. There's oh, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the way I feel. And there's comfort. So there's no shaming. There's no blaming. I just feel like now I'm questioning, like, I don't want to pick a side. So I want to connect with people over not wanting to pick a side. And I want, but I don't have anyone in my life. Do I? Let me see if that's true. My husband is probably the most, yeah, he's probably the most like this, but even he's a little bit like, maybe not 100% this way, but pretty close. Where it's like, I want to connect over not picking a side. He's a pretty neutral guy. Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, thanks, honey. I don't want to pick a side either. Let's sit here not picking sides. Yeah, that feels good. Let's connect over that. Isn't it also funny? So anyway, that's what I wanted to end with since my video got cut off was, oh God, I made this even longer. I'm so sorry. I had to go back to work or something and have less time to do these. But that's where I wanted to end it. More love in the world. That's the side I'm on. That's the change I want to see in the world, is more grassroots love, person to person, not public. I don't have to shout it from social media rooftops and say, look at me, I'm loving more. Although here I am doing a video saying that's what I want. Whatever. I have 100 more of these lessons apparently, so there will be more shouting from the YouTube rooftops of, oh, because I committed to doing these reflections, and now it's like, why? Why is this a practice? I thought, oh, that'll be good for me. What am I going to get from it? I'm also at that phase of like, there's nothing to get, there's nothing to gain, it's already here. And just speaking more words actually just speaks more division, duality into the world. But I committed to doing a full year, so I'm going to do it because that's my journey. I have commitment issues. So that's my personal reason today, 2/3, 3/4, whatever, the way through this, I'm still committed because I have commitment issues. So I'm going to turn into the thing that I generally turn away from as part of my own healing journey. Oh, this is fun. So today I have another long day in the hospital. They kept my stepdad overnight because he couldn't poop, and he couldn't fart. The surgeon comes in, and I love this because he wasn't like, using the word passing gas. He wasn't using the word flatulence. He is like this genius surgeon guy coming in and saying to my stepdad, have you farted yet? I love it because my stepdad, he appreciated that. So no, he hasn't farted. They just want him to pass gas to make sure everything's working before they send him home. So I'm hoping when we get there, he had some relief because he was full of the gas. When they pump you full of gas during surgery, it was still in there. A lot of pain. So I hope he's out of pain when we get there this morning. And then I bet he'll be sent home today. So we'll be taking care of him all day. And then, yeah, I'm really grateful for this time with them. Because like I said, they're so independent that to the point where they're like, we don't want any special attention. And now we get to give them special attention. So it feels kind of good. And I feel like they secretly like it. I don't know. So anyway, thanks for being here on this half hour, 40-minute journey. Bye.